Hey,
He's in the building.
fine.
Yeah, what have
Let
you been
me
up to today?
check. Let me check my setup. I'm just jumping from meeting to meeting.
Oh man.
But this is the big one today.
Oh, this is
The
this
one
is the
I
big
was
one, eh?
waiting for. Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I was actually just meeting with Jojo that just
Oh, he's
that
giving
just
you the
joined
notes, huh?
there.
He's giving you the cheat sheet.
So
He's giving you all the pro tips.
yeah. I see Dave just joined, so if you can give
Yep.
him
Let me
access
Dave,
also.
you should be able to unmute now. How's it going, Dave? Can you hear us?
Hey guys. Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey,
Can you
what's
hear me?
up?
Nothing much. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm just waking up on I don't know where you guys are from. I'm from West Coast US, so I'm still waking up. I got my coffee here and getting ready to listen to you guys.
Nice. Me too. I'm in California.
Hmm. What part of California?
Orange County.
Okay, nice.
How about you?
You got the season pass to Disney then?
Uh, I'm little old. A
Little
little too old for
old.
this.
You're never too old for Disney. What do you mean?
I'm in that phase where like I need to have kids so I can go to Disney
Oh,
again.
all right. That's that's fair. That's fair.
No,
No,
no, you
I'm
can always do.
Oh, go ahead. I was just gonna say I'm outside Portland, Oregon, so not
Oh,
not too close
nice.
to you, but not too far compared to
I
the
was
crypto world, you know.
I was born in Corvallis, Oregon, so
Oh, sweet.
that's a special place.
Yeah, with crypto, world being so broad and all over the map, I'm like, dude, anyone from California, you're pretty much my neighbor in terms of crypto regions, you know.
Right.
And Brulo, where are you from?
I'm originally from Buenos Aires, Argentina, currently
Oh,
based
wow.
in Barcelona, Spain.
Aha,
So
yes.
a lot of time zones going going on
Yeah, no
everywhere.
kidding. No, my wife and I took a trip to Europe last summer, and Barcelona was our top choice. So you
Oh
guys
yeah,
you guys
it's
win.
beautiful.
We
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
make it
no.
everywhere though, but between that Paris and Italy, Barcelona was our favorite. So
Yeah. Wind just joined, so if you also want to give him
yes.
some, and let
All
me
right,
check for.
Wind. You should have the ability to unmute now. Can you hear us?
Hey guys,
Hey, how's it going, Wind?
great. How are you?
Not bad. Just waking up on my end. How about you? How's your day gone so far?
Oh, working a lot and with doing some fixes at my house, so running around
Oh,
a lot.
like a remodel or just
No, some leakage I had, so
uh-oh.
yeah, destroying everything.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
That's not good.
things that happen, but happy for being here and being able to show a little bit what we're working on.
Yeah, well, if your house is falling apart, if you need to leave, go ahead.
No,
We
no,
want
no,
you
no
here,
worries.
but if your house is gonna collapse. Oh man, that's a bummer. Yeah, that's one of the worst things about being a homeowner. So much to fix constantly, but yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it, and we'll get things started, get things recording as well. So we should be good on that end for those who aren't able to attend live. But just want to say thank you guys for taking the time. Excited to learn about. Is it 2112 run? Is it 2011 12? Like what? How do we want to say this?
2112, it's
2112. Okay.
you got that
Okay.
on point.
Cool.
It was
So,
actually the first answer for the FAQ. How
oh
the
yeah.
hell is it named?
Did you ever
It's
get the
2112, yeah.
2112 run?
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I've seen on. I think my first experience with you guys. I'm trying to remember. It might have been from the Balthazar Twitter account, and I'm sure it was some like Twitter post of like what are some great Web3 games, something like that. And you guys had a post or someone from the community posted, and I was checking you guys out. And what stood out to me was the immersive hacking roguelike deck builder. That's what you guys put on your Twitter. Now, to me, what I pictured in my head, I played a lot of Slay the Spire. That got me excited. Am I right to assume it's anything like that, or am I wrong for the assumption there?
Yeah,
No,
it's
yeah,
better,
I think
better than that one.
Better, better. Oh, dang. Okay, I like that.
but yeah, I think yeah, we capture our target audience with you. It was exactly what we aimed to with that specific description. I think it sparked on you what we actually wanted to do because Slay the Spire is, of course, one huge influence in this genre of games. So,
That's
and
awesome to
it's one
hear.
that we like a lot.
Yeah. So for maybe those that haven't played Slay the Spire or something similar, how do you guys describe your game to someone that's never heard about it before?
Do you want to try at that one, Mauro?
Yeah, I would say it's it's like an iterative game in a way that you will play it a lot, right? And you will like lose a lot, and you will learn a lot until you manage to beat it. So in our case, there's going to be this iterative thing of being a roguelike, right? And restarting and playing again, and discovering things. But it will also have narrative elements to it that will make you want to push through that story too, right? So it's going to have like a mixture of both things. And well, the card part is basically the strategy part, right? So I would say it's a turn-based strategy game in the way that you will have to know how to manage your resources to play combat in the most efficient way and lose the less amount of health to be able to reach the end, right? That would be in a very plain way to explain it, right?
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds really exciting to me as someone again that just loves those types of games. Uh, do you guys have a specific target audience in mind? Do you guys feel like this game is going to appeal to anyone and everyone? What types of gamers do you think would get most excited? Do you think you're going to be able to convince someone that's never played these types of games to jump in and give it a try?
Yeah,
I
I
have
think it's
a
a good
great
it's a
example.
good
Yeah.
question that we've been analyzing a lot, and probably, Bru, I will let you do this one because I know you've been deep in the research as well of player
Yeah,
profiles.
yeah, we discussed this a lot, and of course the first thing that pops into mind is like appealing to gamers that already play card games in general, roguelikes in general, and of course that mix of roguelike deck builders that it's like a super specific genre. But one thing that we pretty much discovered the other day as we were doing the process of um, let's say filtering through the potential player profile that we look for. We are working with a games user researcher that it's casually my wife also, but she's a
That's awesome.
professional user researcher and a gamer, but she never
Perfect.
before played a role like deck builder. And actually, it was a kind of game that I thought you wouldn't be interested in. And actually, after testing a couple of times the prototype, we get to a point in which it was saying like, okay, and now I need to work, but I actually want to keep playing.
Classic.
And yeah, and that actually like yeah threw us off a little bit because we were thinking, of course, the first focus is like capturing this public that already knows that likes these kind of games. But yeah, actually the market is way broader because I think any gamer that enjoys a challenge in the way of like a mind challenge, a skill of the mind, let's say, and not maybe a skill of like an FPS can give
Hmm.
you. That it's more like yeah.
And eye coordination,
Um,
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
exactly.
noticed
Like
my
I,
skills
I
have gone
suck
down. I don't know if you about you guys. The older I
exactly.
get,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
skills keep going down, man.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
cannot compete with
this
a
is why
15 year
we make this
old.
game, right? Because, well, at least me personally, I suck at hand-eye coordination.
Yeah, yeah. A game that actually we can beat eventually, because I must say that the game is difficult, as roguelikes should be. The idea is to learn by losing,
Yeah.
basically, and discover new things each time you play. And I think we are nailing that part in our initial tests. But yeah, we are just entering the process of opening those tests to new people outside the team, and we are creating all the framework to do this in a professional way, so the feedback that we get can be actually applied uh, to the game to make it better, and not just to make it a mess
Right.
of feedback that everyone gives and you just throw everything in. I think that's important. I don't know how many teams out there are actually taking care of that and paying specific attention to that, like how you get the feedback and how you apply it, and which feedback you apply and which feedback actually does not work for the goals that you have as a game.
Yeah. So yeah, I am curious about that. How do you sort through that? Because I think one of the very interesting things about Web3 games that people love is that the community can get involved and get involved so early, whether that's, games opening up through governance or even before governance is out. I've seen a lot of games like, hey, we want to build with the community, gather feedback. How do you sort through good feedback, bad feedback, like not pissing off the community because you're not listening to them because you want to go in this route? Like, how do you juggle all of that?
I think, well, I can talk a little bit about the feedback part, and then about the how to involve the community in more in the actual, let's say, development or growth of the project. Something that maybe Dave can talk about a little bit later, because it's something that he was working on a lot. But yeah, about the feedback, I think the secret there, that is not actually a secret, is to involve professionals with professional skills on that part, because it's super easy to just uh, open the floodgates and, like, for example, share this prototype that we are going to be showing later today to everyone, and start, like, I don't know, letting people fill surveys or send their feedback with no filter at all. And then what you do with a ton of feedback that may be biased, or maybe aiming at things that are not even final, so you actually didn't want to test that at that stage. So creating all that framework of how playtests work, it's an actual yeah, professional domain by itself. So yeah, I would suggest to anyone trying to make a game to actually pay specific attention to that.
Yeah, makes sense. One quick question, maybe before we start showing off the prototype, just to clarify for people: is there going to be a multiplayer aspect of this? Is this just a single player roguelike deck builder? How does that work?
Well, it's going to be first. It's going to be single player. We plan to have like a full game with multiple characters that each character plays differently. This is for the first Web 2 launch, and the multiplayer experience we want to bring, it's going to come with the Web 3 version when we open from the Web 2 to the Web 3. And now, with an entire Web 2 game, successful Web 2 game under our belt, right? And with that, we want to open the experience for the Web 3 part, and that is where multiplayer comes in, right? And we have millions of possibilities there to explore that blockchain technology will also empower, right? Which is what we want.
Yeah, that's an interesting strategy to jump from Web 2 to Web 3, and I've heard of other games doing this. So I'm curious, how do you guys market yourself and advertise yourselves? Because Web 2 and Web 3 don't necessarily get along right now. We're not very nice to each other sometimes. So do you guys specifically tell people you're building Web 3? Are you guys trying to hide that for now and be just a successful Web 2 game? What's the strategy there?
Well, I don't know, Dave, if at any point you want to, I know you are a little more shy, but I know your brain is like thinking a lot of things.
Yeah. So at a fundamental level, we just want to use pieces of Web3 that really enhance the game experience. And I think for a lot of Web3 games, they've kind of attached or hooked on to this idea of distributing rewards to their user, or play to earn, play and earn kind of models. And I think for a lot of these projects, they're hoping that that financial incentive is enough to onboard enough users to get kind of that, network effect of growth. But for at least me personally, I don't think financial incentive is really what gamers are looking for. And I think that's what's really causing this rift between Web 2 gamers and Web 3 gamers, because, well, Web 2 gamers play games to have fun.
Yep.
And they're actually willing to pay a lot of money in some cases to have that fun, to increase their entertainment value. And so if your incentive is, hey, I know you're having a lot of fun playing your Web 2 game, but come and play our Web 3 game and we'll pay you a couple bucks an hour. That's really where the conflict comes from. And so at a fundamental level, we want to just completely change how we're building the structure, the incentive models, which is, hey, Web 2 gamers, we're not going to pay you like the other Web 3 games, but we will promise you you'll have a shit ton of fun and pardon my language, and we're actually going to use like Web3 technology that's going to enhance that fun, so that we're going to create a moat using Web3 technology that Web2 companies can't do. We're going to try to step up the game. And so I'm not sure if you want me to get into the details of that, but a lot of that has to do with governance and empowering the community to participate. Like, we see a lot of games use Steam Workshop, right? You have these incredible, for example, Slay the Spire, you have this incredible modding community, which has really kept the game alive all these years. I don't think Slay the Spire would be as popular today without the modding community. And they're doing that for free. That's a passion project. They don't want to get paid. So we want to use DAOs specifically, and governance tokens, to reward those people who are actually building value for the community. And that's, I think, really who we should be distributing rewards to. Not just paying players to play your game, but really reward the people who are creating these
adding value.
Yeah,
right.
Creating value for your ecosystem.
Create to earn. Let's just leave the earn thing off. Let's just No, but I love what you're saying there. I think that's
it's
a lot of sense.
It's mostly like get involved and have fun, and maybe you can even earn. It's long for a tagline.
Fun
but...
comes first, right? Yeah, fun has to come first, right? Because that is what captivates Web 2 communities, right? They play for fun because games are fun and engaging. So that has to come first, and then the blockchain part has to come afterward to enhance the experience that you can have.
Totally.
That was already fun, right?
No, and I love how you put that, Dave. Of it's not just, hey, we pay our players to play the game because the game's not good enough, but who should we actually reward is those who are, creating it and adding that extra gameplay, that incentive to keep on coming back to the game over and over again. Because, as you said, like, a lot of games are just like Slay the Spire, where the original game is great, but what keeps people coming back for 5+ years is all the modded content. Because if not, a single player game like that, right, it's just going to get stale over time. It's not something I'm going to come back to over and over again. But if there's something new, if someone puts out a new mod, I'm like, like there's a new freshness to the game again, and that brings a lot of value to it. That's great. So I do want to get into the weeds of it. I do want to ask more about that, but maybe we should, if you guys are ready, show off the prototype. Just give a little bit of a better visual for us to get some ideas here, if you guys are ready.
Yes.
Okay.
I am nervous. This is the first time some eyes outside the team and family.
Yes, we have some people here some OGs of our community seen. So I hope they like this.
Well,
So of course it's a prototype, right? So we are
sure.
not testing like actual, graphical assets and such.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's going to look to be looking a bit crappy, but the idea is to show the mechanics and how the game flow
Awesome.
goes.
It's exciting.
Yeah, afterwards we will show screenshots of the actual UI work
All
that we are
right.
doing for the
I
the
love
full
that.
release will be in Unity, of course, with all the animations, original music that we are composing with our in-house composer.
Nice.
Um, but this prototype is built in another game engine that it's simpler in a way. I don't know because actually the ones coding this are Wind and Dave. But yeah, it has some limitations like animations that you cannot do or things like that. So it's specifically to test the
Sure.
mechanics, right? How the game works.
Okay, it looks like we got a stream here, so everyone wants to pull up Wind Stream. Ah, I see it here. Okay, I'm ready.
All right, can you see now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I see it. I see it. We're good.
All
That's
right, let's
awesome.
start then. So I'm going to show you a little bit the different elements we have, right?
Yep.
So first of all, well, as in any roguelike game, you start with a deck of cards, right? The starting deck is this one, right? So we have 5 cards that deal damage. We have 4 cards that gain buffer. Buffer is our block, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
what protects you from incoming damage. And we have 1 card which is a generator. And this one works with the beam, right? The beam is the virtual memory you have inside cyberspace, right? So first of all, well, for people that are not familiar with the 2112 universe, in this game you will be it will be all happening inside cyberspace, right? Because you are like hacking a corporation, right, server. So
Oh
you will
wow.
be fighting the defenses of this server and going through this like virtual reality, right? So these cards basically represent the programs that you will use to fight, right? But the twist we have is that we have this virtual memory, right? This beam, which is a resource that it's used to activate these commands, right? As you see here in the screen, I have 3 commands here, right? I have
Mm-hmm.
scout, I have dig, and I have energize. So these commands, I will be able to use them in battle by paying the beam cost, right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So in battle, I will be paying for cards, right? I will be paying the clock cost, which is this number here. But when I play a card, I will do the effect, but I will also gain beam, right? Beam is the number that you can see
Mm-hmm.
in the lower right, right? So this is like the dual resource system we have in the game that makes it very refreshing because you you are paying clock for the cards, but then you are also gaining beam, and you have to think how to use that beam efficiently
I
with the
see. Okay.
commands, right?
Cool. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you can even change the commands, right, between battles. So if we go here to the commands, you can see that there is a list, right? So I can pick different commands here that will suit better maybe my deck building, right, or my strategy.
Right. Right.
So that is the thing, right? Like you will be getting random cards, right? You will be picking cards as you progress, as in any roguelike, but you also have always those commands that you have more control over, right? So this is a way of giving the player more agency and let the
Okay.
player, not sometimes, like you feel this thing that maybe you lose automatically, right? Because you don't have something to do because maybe you draw a very bad hand, right? And that
Right.
happens on roguelikes, and it will happen in our game as
Sure.
well. But this will help to make you feel that you have more agency, right? And you are doing cool things inside the
Yeah, I
cyberspace,
love
right?
that. You
So
still have the RNG, which makes it exciting and fun and kind of random, but you have a lot of
yeah.
player control with this system as well. I like that. That's a good balance.
Exactly. So, well, here is the node map, right? So this is the like a very first iteration of how the node map will work. So now I get to choose, right, one node to go. If we see this node map has like multiple rings, right, that go inward into the final node, which is the red one, the mainframe. So we will be completing nodes from the outer layer, and then we will go inward more and more until we reach the end, which is the mainframe, the final boss,
Okay.
right? And now I can
Interesting.
pick any node to go in, and each node will have a different uh, condition, right? A modifier to the battle that I'm going to fight inside the node, right? So, for example, some of them will give me a protected bonus, which is a buff, right, that reduces incoming damage. Some will give the enemy an exposed debuff. Some will have the enemy already damaged from the beginning. So it's like a little help for the player. That you have to choose which one is better, right, for the situation you're in, right? Because depending on your deck, the type of strategy you have, the better the node bonus will be for you, right? So let's say for now we will start going into a node that will provide us with more beam, right, from the beginning, right? So I will click this node and I will enter the battle, right? So
Ooh, that
this
looks
is
cool.
the battle screen. Of course, again, a lot of this is placeholder, right?
Sure.
The enemies, the backgrounds are more or less the style that we are going to be having, but of course, all this will be animated, right? And the enemy will be there floating, right, and doing
Yep. Yep.
stuff. So this is one of the first important things. We are playing first person, right? So this is a
Okay.
first person roguelike deck builder, which is something that it's also different from at least most of the other roguelike games
Yeah, I'm not
that
used
you
to
can
that.
play.
That's kind of a cool idea, though. I like it.
Yeah, so you are, well, facing the enemy, right? So I have my hand of cards, and I have, you can see here, I have 3 clock, right? Clock is the energy, right, basically. So I'm going to be spending clock to, it's like the time that I'm using to execute these programs I have in hand, right? So here what I can see also is the enemy information, right? So I can see that this enemy, which is Sora no Me Mark 1, right? He has 240 integrity, right? Which is the hit points. And then he has a cold subroutine here, the red one, which is telling me what the enemy is going to do when I pass my turn, right? Such as in Slay the Spire, this is like a intent, right?
Yep.
Enemy
Yep.
intent system. But we have something added on, which is the ongoing effect, right? That this battle has, right? So the ongoing effect when you fight this ice, it's the one here in the top, which is called Trace Chase. So what it does is at the end of each round, right? I'm going to take 4 damage for each Tracer Virus card I have in my hand, right? So
Okay.
this will make sense soon because, as you see in the call subroutine, he's going to start adding cards, adding Tracer Virus cards from my repo, right? And those are bad cards. So right now, I know he's going to be building up defense, right? And adding a Tracer Virus card to my deck, right? But he's not attacking right now, so I can. I know then that I can go full offensive, right? I don't have to protect myself
Right.
in this
Right.
case, right? So I will play this card, this Ghost Slash, right, to make damage. So as you see there,
Ah, nice.
I
Okay.
I hit for 20, right? A pretty rudimentary animation, right? But I hit
Yeah,
for
there's
20.
something there.
Yeah, but
It's a start.
at least it's something there for the feedback. Absolutely. So I hit by 20 and I gain beam, right? I gain 10 beam. So I started with 25 because we are on the node that gives bonus beam, right? So now I can choose my next action, right? So here's the thing. For example, now I could defend myself, right, by playing Cyber Shell. The thing is, he's not attacking me, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it would be better for me to try to get attack cards to make use of my clock offensively, right? Sadly, I had a very bad starting hand here.
Yep.
I would like to have more.
You just gotta spin your Vim. Come on, let's go.
Yeah, now I can spend my beam, right? So
Yeah.
I can even see my
That's
repo
cool.
and think on chances, right? I can even go min-maxing this way if I want to, right? If I clip my repo, I can see what is on my repo, which is the deck, right? So I can see there is a lot of hacks, right? Hacks are the red cards that attack. So I thinking, well, I'm going to use a scout to draw one card. So I use a scout, right? So now I spent my beam, right? And I draw a card. I draw the coast ledge, so yay for me. Now I can use it, right? To hit for 20 again. I cannot use again the command I just used, right?
It's
once
per
per turn.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of each type per turn, right? And now I can use this card, which is 0, right? And this is a generator because what it does is basically generate beam. So it would generate 4 base, but it would generate 8 extra because I already used a command this turn. So there are also cards that it will matter a lot what it's the sequencing in which you are playing the cards or using commands, right? So now I'm playing this, so I'm getting 39. So just for one, if I had one more, I could use dig now, right? To search for that last hack to attack, right? But sadly, I don't have enough, so I would just play one defensive card just to have more beam, right? And I will pass. So when I pass my turn, I will see what the enemy did, right? So the enemy did used shell gaze. He increased his buffer and he inserted a tracer virus card to my repo, right? So now I draw the next, this is the next round, right? I draw my hand, and now I can see that I have the tracer virus card that he injected into my deck, right? And now I have to think about this again, right? Because now he's using trace needles, which deals 12 damage, right? So now I should defend myself, but I'm also taking 4 damage if I have the tracer virus card in hand at the end of the round, right? Because of his passive, right? So now I have to plan around this, right? So if I get 12 and then I get 4, it's 16. So only playing one cyber shell, it's already covering me that damage. So now I have 2 more clock to attack, right? And be safe about it. So now I have one of the special attacks, right, which is the amped code slash. That, as you can see, this is another version of code slash, which will hit for more if I'm using it having 50 beam or more, right? So this is another concept the game has, right? There are cards that will ask you to have maximum beam, for example, right? So those cards will make you stronger, but it will ask that you don't use your beam that much, right? So there is a lot of gameplay strategies, a lot of archetypes we can explore thanks to this beam system, right? That let us work in a
it makes a lot of sense. I mean, because there's so many times where I've played a roguelike game like Slay the Spire or others where it's like you pull your cards, you look at your cards, and you're just like, well, crap. What do I do? Like, I guess I just gotta play these cards that's not gonna matter this turn.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, it's so much like I'm already thinking of like, oh man, how do you balance your Vim and your choices? Like, do I spin my Vim?
Exactly.
Do I want to stack it up for those more powerful cards? Yeah, I really like that system. That's really fun.
Yeah, there's really a lot to explore, right? So right now, for example, I can play this one, hit by 20. I hit by 2 because he had 18 buffer, right? So he first protected himself and then I hit by 2. And now I can use the amped code slash, right? I'm over 50 beam, so I can use it and I will hit by 40. I will get 10 more. And now one important thing too is that card was decompiled, right? Like the exhaust keyword in Slay the Spire. Some cards, when you use them, are removed from the game entirely instead of going to the recycler, right, which is our discard pile. So Now I have 0 clock. I could draw cards, but there's no use to it, so I would just pass. So now I get hit by 12 and then by 4 because I had the Tracer Virus card in hand, but I had buffer, so I don't get any kind of damage. But now here comes a more special moment, which is this is like the final attack of this enemy, right? Like this is the third turn, so now the enemy is doing his strongest attack, which is he will deal 20 damage per Tracer Virus card we have in our hand, right? So he was inserting cards into our deck.
Got
and
it,
now
got it.
it comes this moment, right, when I have 3 Tracer Virus cards. So he's going to hit by 60 if I don't do something about it, right? So I can do different things, right? So right now we have already some decisions to make, right? I could go and just protect myself a lot with these cyber shells we have
Yep.
here. But I could also use the Tracer Virus card, right? Because the Tracer Virus card costs 1, and when I use it, there's a chance that it will be decompiled instead of going to the recycler, right?
I see, yeah.
So I could like spend the 3 clock to get rid of the 3 Tracer Virus cards, right? Or I could go full defensive and just let him hit me by 60, but try to mitigate that damage and make sure that these cards will be decompiled, right? Because what he does is he hits and then he will decompile them, right?
Got it,
So
got
let's
it.
do that, right? Let's take advantage of that we draw a hand full of protection, right? So I will play this first, which is an empowered Cyber Shell, right? So now I have 34, so he's hitting by 60, so it's not enough yet. I will cover one more. So now if I can get one more buffer card, I will be safe for this turn. So I think what I should do is play dig, right? This command.
Okay, yeah.
So with this command, I draw 3 cards and I have to discard 1, right? So I won't discard the Tracer Virus card because I already know I will mitigate all damage. So I prefer to have it in hand and be decompiled, right? So I will throw 1 Cyber Shell out. I will play the generator to recover a little bit of PIM, and then I will protect myself, right? So
Okay.
now I'm covering all the damage he's making. I'm going to get rid of these cards that are bad for me, and I can go on the offensive on the next turn because he's not going to
I
do
like it.
this continuously, right?
Wind, you're so good at this
So
game. It's
it's
like you almost built it.
Yeah, it's like you can sign all the fucking cards.
yeah, we've been going a lot through this, but
No, I'm
it's
I'm
that
tracking with
basically,
you. I'm
right?
tracking with you. This
Yeah.
is great.
So now
Yeah,
I will
just
finish the battle fast.
I would like to make
Um,
some
yeah,
comments. So I let Win catch some breath because we were discussing in the chat. Of course, the final version you won't need a calculator on the side to to be doing math at the same time because yeah, otherwise the game feels like a math PhD or something like that. The idea is that all the values will
all
auto-populate and
buffs and
adapt to
everything
the
will be
buffs, debuffs.
pre-calculated.
Yeah, and these conditionalities of how much beam do you have, because there are some super complex cards that you can find down the way that it's like, I don't know, it grows in power depending on how much beam have you spent during the battle. So if you drag the battle longer and use a lot of commands, those cards become like huge bombs. Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
you won't need a PhD in math to actually play the game. And of course, yeah, Win won't receive any damage in the first few battles because he's just too good at this.
come on.
But that's
No, but
yeah, but
that's the thing. You can approach the game in multiple ways, right? Such as Slay Spire, right? You have the the first iteration you win, it's way easier, right? That when you start adding
Right.
ascension, and these kind of things. So in our game, the idea is that it can be accessible, right? When you start playing, but then the more hardcore, right, and the more that you are getting deeper and deeper, it's going to require that you min max more, right? You
Sure.
start doing some, I should do this and that, but of course usability will be there, right, and everything will be pre-calculated with the buffs and the
Sure.
debuffs
Sure.
and and everything.
Do you guys have
Yeah,
a difficulty mode in mind for maybe players that aren't familiar with deck builders? Because like me as a deck builder myself, I'm like, oh, I understand this. This is making sense to me. Like everything you're doing, Wind. Like I'm tracking with you, but I'm thinking of players that maybe have never touched a game like this. Like, is there gonna be an easier mode or maybe some tutorials to get them in the game? Like, how do you plan to onboard those types of players?
Yeah, we have thought about doing like an onboarding, maybe first run, something that it's more like tutorial, right, for the final version. But then like the campaign that you are going to play, it's going to also be escalating, right? So at the beginning, it's going to be more simple, and then it's going to get more complex as we go, right? Um, but there, like specific difficulties, we haven't thought about that yet, because we are not that far in the,
Sure. Sure.
in the balancing and everything. But it's something that we might do if we see that a lot of new players of the genre start coming because they like the game and the immersive, right, thing that it has.
Yeah, no,
Um,
it's such a tricky thing about game design, right? Because you want to add gameplay elements that like players like me get excited about, like, whoa, that's like the Vim system, like it's such a cool system, like we haven't seen this before. But you can also, on the other hand, make it too complicated, right? Where newer players or other players are just now overwhelmed with the amount of choices or strategy that goes on. So it's an interesting. I just love picking people's brains because it's such an interesting game design challenge, right?
yeah,
that is a good thing also of having multiple characters that we can do, right? Because we can do different archetypes that also change the complexity and the depth of the game mechanics, right? Because we could have a character that, for example, ignores commands, right? We can have a character that plays without the entire Vim system, right? And he goes, old school with only the cards. It's something we can have, right?
Yeah.
And we can have other one that focuses even more on the commands. But even with this character, which is the one that it's going to be more balanced, right? Like you can play different strategies. There are some strategies that will require way less, let's say, depth into thinking, the beam or calculating the commands. For example, the Amasser archetype, it's one of them, which is the archetype that just go max beam, right? And he doesn't use the commands at all. He's on max beam and his cards, play for a lot of damage because he's on that like Super Saiyan mode. So when we finish the battle, basically we get some shards with our, which is the currency, right, for the shop in game, and then I choose a reward, right. So I can get here one card to add to my deck. Cards have different rarities, right. So I will start to build my deck as we move forward. And lastly, we have the shop, right. This is the surface, which is
I
acts
love.
like the shop, right?
I love the
And
I love the little logo design right now. That's great.
yeah, we have like this first approach with this very fun to have the proto live. So you will be able with the code shards, you will be able to repair your integrity a limited numbers of time, right? You can buy cards and you can also patch, right? And patches are a great system, which you will, you select one card, then you select another card that you will use as a sacrifice, right, to upgrade the first card. And then you can see the output there, right? You can see that if I combine these two cards, I'm having a 10% damage per bonus of the card that I'm upgrading,
I
right?
see. Yep.
So there
Yep.
are multiple ways of playing with this as well. So that pretty much covers everything that we have for now.
Yeah,
We are
that's
working a
great.
lot on the roadmap. It will be more complex than this, the roadmap, but the battle and everything will be more or less like this.
Awesome. Well, yeah, thank you guys so much for showing the prototype. This is exciting to me as someone that likes these types of games. I get excited seeing this, and I hope some of the other people here are as well. But, also at the same time, I have a bunch of questions in my head. I know some other people have some questions as well.
Yeah, sure.
So let's maybe wrap up some of the questions on the Web 2 side of things, and then we'll jump into Web 3. But first of all, Web 2, the game you guys got now. Anyone can answer this question if you guys want to give Wind a break just to catch some breath or drink some water. I'm curious, like,
Yeah.
where are you guys at in the process? Obviously, it's a prototype. Like, how big is the team? Do you guys have a roadmap or dates in mind yet, or is this still all very early where you're not putting out like a release yet?
Do you want to talk a little bit about the process, Dave, or do you want me to?
Yeah, sure. A formal roadmap is something that we're right now like working on, but at the moment, our current estimations is having like an alpha version maybe sometime in June, July timeframe. Of course, estimating release dates are really tricky, but
Sure.
yeah, our goal is to have it done sometime in the summer.
And is
Yeah,
that
just sorry, just
no? Yeah, go ahead.
to add to that, part of the integration in the Unity build already started. Our devs are already working on that, and they are like moving fully into that starting next week. So actually, while we test the prototype and specific mechanics and get feedback and work on the balancing, we are building the entire logic of the game, all the systems that we need to create all the cards in the game, to implement all the graphical assets that are also super advanced. This is an ongoing work that we are already doing. So the idea is that, yeah, around June, July, we should be able to do a first release on Steam Early Access. It's the thing that we are discussing in these weeks, like understanding exactly how much content do we want for the release on early access and how to plan the following releases, so the game is kept updated and alive through all its life cycle in early access until it's full enough to move on to full release.
Awesome. So is anyone going to be able to jump into that? It's going to be closed alpha. Do you have to buy the early access game? Do you guys have plans for that yet, or are you still making those decisions?
We are still fine-tuning the decisions. The main idea, something that we already disclosed with our community, is that holders of our current PFP, the idea is that they should have access to that game. So at no cost. We still need to see how Steam works on distributing those codes. It's something that I'm actively researching on, but from what I've been researching, that shouldn't be a problem. So anyone being part of the community currently will have access directly to the game, and of course the entire rest of the world would be able to purchase it on early access. We are still defining the pricing structure for this standalone game, and of course, if we go the early access route, the price could be different from potential full release, as most of the games usually do on early access. So yeah, that's basically the thing, and the idea is to start involving the community starting in a couple of weeks with all these playtesting iterations, depending on the specific goals of each test. For some things we will open to the community. For other things we will need on purpose people that it's outside the community, because probably we are testing things that for someone in our community it's already a given. Let's say at the moment we want to start testing how the immersion and the narrative part works, and if it's understandable. Let's say for someone already in our community, that should be like super easy because they are already involved in how the 2112 universe, narrative universe works. So for that, we may aim for people outside the community. But for most of the things, the idea is to involve the community as much as possible, and at some point closer to the actual release on Steam, go and open more and more these playtest phases, like this super closed alpha, let's say first, then a closed beta, then maybe an open beta, and then go directly to the Steam release.
Awesome. Well, sorry, we were doing the frog emotes. I love that. That caught me off guard. But, yeah, there we go. You spam them. Just keep spamming them. There we go. Yeah, no, all the Web 2 process makes a lot of sense. I think that's pretty standard. It's cool to hear about. So maybe let's jump into Web 3 with the time we have left. You also mentioned PFPs. Is that you guys already have some PFPs and NFTs out, or where are you guys at with that process?
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of context for
We
people
have
that may see this and
the root passes. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. We launched the first collection on February of last year, so it's actually 1 year already. The project is almost 2 years old. So we have been working through bulls, through bears. That's something that we can proudly say, and we keep working regardless of the state of the market. Let's say that's the idea. We have a plan and we have a vision, and this is a project that it's a passion for us and a full day, a full-time job for us also. So yeah, we have that collection. Actually, people that owns our PFP, they currently can play a kind of simpler game that we already have live, that is kind of a choose your own adventure with some risk and reward assessing there. Of course,
Nice.
it's way simpler compared
Sure.
to this game. But it was our first proof of concept, actually, like proving ourselves and the community and the world that we can actually design something that it's playable. We can build it, we can launch it, and it's actually working.
Yeah, and
And
integrated
then
with blockchain, right? Without bugs, without anything.
and yeah, already integrated that with blockchain. We are really proud of that work because actually you can play that game on Polygon, having your PFP in Ethereum, and you don't need to breach, you don't need to stake, you don't need to do anything strange. You just switch the network in MetaMask, and you can go and play the game. So all of that uh, taught us a lot of lessons that we are applying for this development process. So it's not that we just came out with an idea for a card game last month and we started working on that. Um, we don't have a huge track record, but we are super proud of the track record that we have right now, and we keep building that. So yeah, that's the thing, that collection already exists, and there are some assets there also that are planned for the Web3 ecosystem, the thing that Dave was mentioning, and we can go a little bit deeper for the rest of the talk. But yeah, the idea is that anyone that has been an early supporter, it's going to be rewarded in different ways as this game integrates with the vision that we have for Web3. If it's merely because they already have these assets, they have been earning some tokens that in some way we are going to integrate into that entire ecosystem. So let's say they had this head start for being early supporters, but also because they were playing the game, providing feedback, being active. So their actual involvement will be represented in some way in the ecosystem that we are planning.
Great. I'm curious because as I've asked different games, why do a collection so early? Some games you're like, hey, we want to involve the community early and get them involved. Some games are like, hey, we're actually using this to raise funds to build the game. What were some of you guys' reasons for launching a collection this early on in the process?
Well, for us, I think it was mainly raising funds, right? Well, for the actual PFPs, it was more like a thing that we already had ready, right? So it was not so much like a thing for the future, because the PFPs already have a very good and unique, art style to it, and it's made in a generative way, but it has this cool like style that it looks like a painting, right? So we thought that was pretty unique, and also all the narrative that we have tied to the runners themselves when you enter into our website and see all the narrative events and things that we did down the road. But specifically for the console and land passes that we sold way in advance, it is mainly for raising funds to be able to develop everything we need to develop to reach that point, right? And that is what we are doing right now, right? But it takes time, right? That is the thing, because as we are talking in this meeting here, right? Like, we could be doing directly the Web3, like full Web3 roguelike card game multiplayer. But the thing is, it's not, I think it's not something that will be, it's not going to be convenient, I think, because of the state of the market in general, right? This thing that, the bear market came and everything. And also, I think the state of this Web 2, Web 3, barrier that it is for gamers as well. So this is why we pivoted in that regard, right? And we still have the Web 3 version as our vision, and the thing we are going through, that we are going to reach, right? But we think that first we need to make this stepping stone, right? Which is have a very good Web 2 game that can serve as an onboarding experience, right?
Yep.
For those people that are already not in the Web 3 space, right? So it's kind of letting Web 3 space mature a little bit more while we build our foundations as a game developer company, right? And we demonstrate that we can make a full-fledged Web 2 game, and then transition into the Web 3 experience. So it's basically, it's a very long-term thing, right? That it's the entire
long-term
ethos of our project. Yeah.
Wind. I want to be rich overnight. I want to be a millionaire from your game now, like in a week. Come on.
Oh no. Oh,
don't give me long-term.
Yeah.
Where's my Lambo, right?
Yeah, come on. What's up with that?
It has to be quick. Well, we cannot, good things cannot be built quick, right? And
yeah, no.
Even great profits cannot be
Yeah,
the blink of an eye. Even less
right.
on a bear market, right?
Yeah, no, it's a good strategy, and I think a lot of people and a lot of games are waking up to the fact that Web3 maybe has 1 million gamers at most. That might even be generous with how many bots are in all these games, So it's like, exactly. I think it makes a lot of sense of like, hey, if we can already make a Web 2 successful game, then that's going to make the transition even easier. But Dave, I do want to kick it back to you if you're up for it. I would just love to hear more of that maybe futuristic shift in your guys' mind. I know you're talking about earlier of going into Web3 and how you guys plan to do that. So I don't know if you had more thoughts to share there, but I'd love to hear it if you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you asked a question earlier about like who is our target audience, and you also asked, do you guys think this is like kind of complicated for a new player that isn't familiar with roguelike deck builders? And we've had a lot of internal conversation about who our target audience should be, or who we want to attract first, at least. And I guess the first cohort of people are like more on the hardcore side. More they've played card games before. They've played, whether it's Magic or Hearthstone or some level of strategy card game. Ideally, Slay the Spire, but and that's for a multitude of reasons. First of all, I think there's a lot of I'll say mobile games and Web3 games that are targeting the more casual to semi-casual audience. Those are usually the games that are the easiest to, well, I don't want to say easiest, but they're easy to port over to Web3.
Sure.
You're seeing a lot of mobile games do this. We see a lot of opportunity targeting, or a lack of content out there targeting hardcore gamers, which is why another reason why we're creating this game. And on top of that, there's a really lack of immersion in Web3 games too. And there are a lot of challenges with Web3 games, because if you want to interact with the blockchain, you got a MetaMask pop up and you have to confirm every transaction.
Yep.
And that inherently breaks immersion, because, well, you're trying to be a wizard, or you're trying to play the game and you keep getting pop-ups about, and then you have to pay money on every transaction. It's like, you keep distracting me from the actual game.
Right.
So that's something that we're not going to solve by ourselves. We're hoping as the space matures and evolves, there'll be technology that we can partner with to.
I mean, hey, we're building that technology here at Balthazar, so there you go. Just
Exactly.
let's talk,
Perfect.
guys. Come on.
Yeah, make a deal.
We got you. We got your back.
Nice. And then, because we have this hardcore audience that likes immersion, we actually want to implement DAOs into the core gameplay loop, where people can role play like a cyberpunk, maybe join a faction like you would in any RPG. You join a clan or a team and actually interact and coordinate missions as a group, as a faction. And the reward or incentive structure that we're trying to create is, the more you play our game, the more governance tokens or the more in-game influence you will accrue. So it may not be dollar for dollar, monetary value like Axie has, right, with SLP, or you're not going to be making, I'll say a stable income by playing your game, but by playing your game, you will have more influence over the universe, and you will have more influence within your faction. And so if you say, hey, if you're very influential, you've been playing this game a lot, you're very devoted and dedicated, and you say, hey, let's attack this other faction, your vote is going to mean a lot more than, someone who only plays 1 hour a week, as it should, right? You're more involved in the ecosystem. And so that's kind of the reward mechanism, reward incentive structure that we want to implement using DAOs.
Interesting.
Yeah, feeling that you are someone, right, in this universe, and that you have, maybe some kind of authority, or you have some, this thing about flexing, right, that NFTs have, right? That it tends to be more about money than anything else, right? But when we start putting the fun on it, right, and the immersive experience and the role playing, the idea is that you will want to do that because of that fun, right? Because it's an important part emotionally for you, and not that much because it's worth $10 or $15 or $20, right? You will want to put money anyway, because we put money when we play any other game, right? Or we buy a skin, let's say. So it's going to be all those narrative elements we can use.
Yeah, no, as you guys are talking about this, it's almost shifting the narrative of play to earn to play to govern, or play to have power, right? And I think, as I've talked to a lot of games that started out in this space, 3-4 years ago, Gods Unchained, Splinterlands, all these games here so early, none of it back then was called play to earn, right? Like, that really only took off during the bull market, because those tokens probably became way overvalued than what realistically they should be worth, right? And so that almost changed. If you can convince gamers, I think Web2 gamers, like, hey, it's not so much that you're here to play and earn and make a living or make some money. It's, hey, we want to give those who are playing the most the most
Incentives.
power or governance or choice over the game because they've been investing so much time into the game. And yeah, that might have some kind of small monetary value, but the point is more I want to have power or choice in this game because of the time I've invested. And I think that's a key narrative change that I think is going to be powerful if we can actually make that narrative change happen.
I think I think the main or one of the main discussions that I've read a lot in like Web2 gaming places. Anytime crypto appears around there or NFTs or Web3 gaming, the first thing that you read is like they are trying to solve a problem that no one has yet, or things
Right.
like that, or things like we already can sell and buy our things. It's like, yeah, you can sell your World of Warcraft character,
Yep.
not directly in the game, but there's some way to convert digital assets that you own in a game into money, let's say.
Everything has a
Um,
price at the end of the day. Yeah.
Everything has a price at the end of the day. So I think really it's not the thing of maybe trying to solve a specific problem, but is seeing in which parts of your experience you can leverage blockchain to offer an experience that is more convenient or better than doing that in the Web2 version. And for example, these kind of things of how you can influence an entire game, an entire ecosystem, an entire IP, an entire narrative universe through playing. I think it's something that DAOs, for example, can provide some tools there that are like more specifically tailored for those kind of things, like governance, than the tools that we have right now in Web2 that are not, let's say, they're not immutable, they're not public in most cases.
Way more
So
centralized.
yeah, when you start, for example, giving players the possibility to earn actual influence within the faction that they are part on in your narrative universe, you want to have some or most the most transparency as you can, because you actually want the entire community to see that the community decisions are actually being taken by the community, and the ones that has more weight is because they are investing more in the project, but not from a monetary standpoint, from a time standpoint, from an engagement standpoint. They are creating content or playing a lot or being involved in the story, so they naturally have more impact on what they can do to shape the narratives, the games, and the entire experience. That's something where Web3 and blockchain technology can help. And that's something that you can even try to do, once again, with the proper technology and making the proper alliances, let's say. You can do that in a more or less transparent way for the players. I think part of the this dream goal that many of us have in the Web3 space is to actually onboard people from outside and let them live an experience that is powered in some way by the blockchain without them even knowing that at some
Yeah,
point.
make it
It's like,
seamless. Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly. Of course, at some point, there's going to be people that will be against this for many years to come, and they won't be part, or they won't want to be part of that ecosystem. But that's the other thing, the thing of in having this interaction within your Web2 experience and your Web3 experience. Actually, people coming to the Web2 game, they may not even know at all that the Web3 part exists if they don't want. And the Web3 experience that it's creating new content, new storylines, evolving all the narratives. From there, you can, for example, create the future seasons or campaigns that people will be playing in the Web2 game. So you as a Web2 player can have a game that constantly receives new content and evolves, and you feel that world is evolving, and you may not actually know that behind all that content there's actually a community that it's creating that and it's being rewarded for that. And when you discover that, you may say like, oh, okay, now I want to be part of that too.
Right.
I want to actually influence the stories that I'm playing and not just be a spectator. But if you just want to be a spectator, you can also go buy a game that has a lot of content and just live that Web2 experience. So at some point, the thing will be like transparent enough so people can go one way or the other. And at some point, maybe we grow as a space, so there's enough, let's say, trust in this. So
Yeah, another good
just
projects,
all the,
right?
yeah, all the
examples.
players want to be part of the two experiences. But I think that's also an advantage of having this Web2, Web3 approach, let's say.
Yeah.
Each one, when they feel more comfortable, and then try to onboard them slowly.
Yeah. No, I love what you're saying there. I know we're a couple minutes over time, but if you have another minute or two, I'd love to press a little bit deeper into that question, because you're talking about, you know, the power of Web3, but I'm not a developer. I'm not behind the scenes on these types of games. So I'm assuming, you know, a Web2 player is going to have a question of like, why can't I just use my in-game currency that's not on the blockchain to vote and create a DAO? You know, why? You know, I played League of Legends for a while. I have 100,000 blue essence. Why does that have to be on the blockchain? Why can't I just say, hey, like, League of Legends, let me vote for stuff with my 100,000 blue essence or something like that, even though it's not a crypto? What about it makes it more transparent, as you said, or easier to develop, or, you know, what are the advantages of having that blockchain for DAOs specifically?
Well, there is one point that it's very like a legal thing, right? I think Dave, you can probably go further on this. But this thing, right, about the moment you want to reward someone in, let's say, your DAO or your community, right, with some non-fungible value, right, like with, let's say, with some monetary value, you would have a lot of legal problems to do it, right? And being on the blockchain can help us a lot in that regard, right? Dave can probably explain more about that.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of DAO we're talking about, right? So if it's a DAO that's strictly governance, and I mean, well, unfortunately, even governance tokens, some governance tokens are insanely high valued, right? And if you start issuing that, I think there are a lot of legal hurdles. You have to make sure it's not a security, so the SEC doesn't go after you. And we're seeing, like, yesterday, Coinbase announcing their layer 2 base, and they explicitly put in bold, we are not issuing any kind of token. So I think a lot of US based companies are going to struggle. They don't want to take that risk. It's an inherent regulatory risk. But like what you mentioned before about League of Legends and Blue Essence, they could engineer a governance system and implement it in their game if they want to. But and they could make all the records transparent if they wanted to. I don't think they would make that decision, but that's really the transparency is the biggest hurdle. You know, the blockchain is more anonymous, I would say.
You don't control it, really, right?
It's an organic ecosystem. You can see what people are doing, and you can even get creative in certain cases. I just don't think Web 2 can reverse engineer that kind of DAO system with openness, decentralization, and transparency like the blockchain can.
Yeah. So the key difference there is that it can actually be decentralized instead of, hey, Riot, you know, Riot's a central authority and they're going to control everything and can just grab your blue essence whenever they want and say, nah, you don't have that anymore. No more power, right? Is that kind of the idea?
Exactly. Yeah. And you also have, like, what if the community makes a decision that Riot Games doesn't agree with? Riot Games has the final say in what happens. Whereas, when we're using the blockchain, really the boundaries are almost limitless. Like your imagination is the sky's the limit. So we're really excited to see what our community will decide, which is why we're really pumped and hyped about like just creating these what we're calling narrative seasons. We're going to have like a storyline for each season where we present a very interesting, compelling dilemma or something controversial. Like Brew, maybe you can talk about our first narrative season really quick, because I know you know a lot more about
The one we already did. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an experiment running right now with this initial game that we have like right now. But it's basically what Dave was saying. It's like presenting some huge world-changing events, because once again, what we are building is actually a narrative universe, an entire IP. So the idea is that players can affect how this world evolves through time. So the idea was like, what if we present the bigger world-changing events that can happen in a way that actually through gameplay people can affect those outcomes instead of just going and voting. So this goes even beyond DAOs, because with a DAO you could just put up to vote, like should we go path A or path B. The idea in this is to actually put a layer of gameplay on that. So we are running this first experiment right now that it's deciding if in our universe cloning human beings is going to be legal or not. And the players are starting to unveil all the illegal, horrible things corporations are doing with their illegal research of cloning, and trying to expose that to make the United Nations vote
And they are role
against that.
playing, like they are literally role playing. They are inside Discord, role playing by chat with a person in our team that it's role playing the NPC, let's call it, right? So that kind of role playing is what we can bring to the gaming space, right? And make a really feel that you are there, right? You are part of that universe.
And the thing is that whatever outcome we have from this first narrative season will forever change the narrative universe that we are creating, and
the canon, right?
Future stories will adapt or be part of that framework, in which, for example, human cloning will be legal or will not be legal. We still have to discover that in
I
the
sure
upcoming
hope
weeks.
not. I need to go get my DAO governance tokens and vote no.
Well, that's the thing. For example, for this experiment, you actually need to go play the game, get some special items that you need, and then you need to go and negotiate with different NPCs according to what you really want to do. If you want to help the corporations or hurt them, and also this thing of this layer of role playing, that it's also why we are not just building a roguelike tech builder. The entire project is a role played based thing. Actually, after this narrative season, all the characters that has been participating and make their own decisions will have some repercussions on what they decide to do. That can be directly impacting the metadata of each of their characters, for example, and then maybe in the next Web3 game that we do after the card game, they unlock special things because of those traits that they are earning by participating and playing. So I think we even have a traitor around here. There's someone that was helping the corporations in this chat room in this moment. I know you are there. And he actually, I think he made that decision to see what happens, and it's like that's role playing. It's
But
like,
that is the thing. We can record, that on the blockchain as well, right? So now your character has some specific trait which it's it can identify
Flag
what
him as a
was
traitor for life.
yeah, what did you do, right? But of course, that is not a bad thing, right? Because you could think, oh, a traitor is a bad thing, but maybe in the future there is another event, and now the one that has the traitor tag, it's going to be contacted by the corporations, for example, because he already has that condition. So this idea is to keep building this role-playing universe, supported by gameplay and supported by the blockchain, right? So that is like
That's super
the
fun.
big.
Yeah, no, this is great. I love what you guys are saying, and I think one of the things that's interesting is that a lot of games have struggled to reward players for actually playing rather than just, I bought up a bunch of crypto and now I'm the king of the castle, and I govern everything just because I had the big wallet. So that's exciting to hear and cool that you guys are doing this. And I have questions I could go for all day, but we've already run over time because this has just been such a great discussion. So thank you guys for the time, and I'm sure a lot of people will watch it afterwards and enjoy it as well. So just to wrap up, if people do want to ask more questions, dive a little bit deeper, is it just Twitter and Discord for you guys the best place to reach out, or is there other places as well?
Yeah, I think currently Discord and Twitter, it's those are the main channels, and yeah, we are open to answer all questions, and we could talk about this for days without stopping. So if you want to do a follow-up in a couple
We will
of
be
weeks or
around.
months,
So,
Awesome.
we will be around still building. So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
as soon as you guys have some big updates and stuff too, feel free to reach out to us and let us know, and maybe we'll do a updated fireside or just chat or whatever. We wanna be involved
Awesome.
and hear what's going
Yeah.
on. So it's been fun.
yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Well, even if there is
So-
people interested in the game that we have, right, and the prototype. So when we start doing some more open-ended tests of these alpha versions that we are developing, of course we can be in touch with you guys in Baltasar, because maybe
Perfect.
some part of your community was really engaged by this talk and want to try it or something. They are fan of roguelikes games or something, and they want to play. We will have in the future more and more testing sessions
Perfect.
that we might be.
All right. Well, I'm excited. I'm sold. So I hope everyone else enjoyed it. And thank you guys so much for sharing your prototype as well. I know, as you said, like this is the first time outside of the team and family. So we feel very privileged. So appreciate you guys being willing to share that with us. And that made me excited for sure.
Thank you for the space, and thank you for your
Appreciate it. Thank you.
excitement.
Yeah. Of course. Well, we'll talk later. And everyone else, thank you guys for showing up here as well. If you missed portions of it, again, we'll have the recording either later today or early Monday probably. So feel free to catch back up on what you missed. I saw some of you guys sneak in here late, so you'll definitely want to catch this one. There's some great discussion, fun prototype, and yeah, I hope everyone has a great weekend. We'll see you guys later.
Great
All
weekend.
right.
Thank you.
Bye, Luke. Thank you.
All right. See you guys.